Greetings and welcome to Provident Vox. I'm Baron Aragni.
And I'm Baronessa Aragni.
And in today's episode, we will give you some practical tips in magic and how to make your spells and so on much more effective and efficient.
And let's just be honest, anyone who practices will greatly benefit from things like this.
Indeed. Magic is all about perception and energy, and the simplicity of everything in between. Let's take a thought form as an example. When you create a thought form, you're going to make it as simple as possible. For example, an orb with a single function. Thusly, with that single function, the thought form will be able to perform much better at its singular task.
Exactly. Even though you might be tempted to make thought forms that have multiple tasks or that, obviously doesn't have an orb as a form. You might want to give it free will, make it anthropomorphic or something. But the problem with that is this, and we're going to keep this as simple as possible. The more moving parts, the greater places that fuck-ups can happen.
Yeah, that is the truth. So if you keep it simple, you have a more greater chance of success. Remember we spoke about the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, in a previous podcast episode, probably in season 1, if we're not mistaken.
Indeed. So magic is perception and magic is energy. If you want to perform a spell, it doesn't matter from which paradigm it is, doesn't matter from which tradition it is, you need to completely immerse yourself in that very moment and very instant that you cast a spell. In other words, everything outside of you does not exist anymore. Only the spell, only the ritual, only your objective exists. It doesn't matter if you are under stress, then you must cut everything out from you. That's why before performing a magical operation, it is important for you to prepare yourself, okay? Such as avoid meditation. Avoid meditation is where you clear your mind completely, drawing yourself in deeper and deeper within the darkness, without any thoughts, no distractions whatsoever. Just focus on that, focus on your breathing, focus on the darkness. That is a good method of preparing yourself for a magical operation. That will also enable you to enter a Gnostic state. Okay? Gnostic state is basically a high state of awareness. So in other words, you're going to make all your 6 senses pop. Your third eye will open up, it will be more susceptible to energy, and you'll be aligned more with the energies you are about to work with.
But make no mistake, if you completely immerse yourself and devote yourself to the work at hand, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're not keeping it simple anymore. In fact, that is its most simplistic form it can possibly be.
Exactly. You need to completely live yourself into that moment, the ritual, the tradition, the spell, whatever you are going to perform. Now, we also said perception is important because that forms part of perception. Okay, you need to change your perception. If you have any doubts in your mind, if you have any stress or anxiety, that needs to be dealt with before you even think of performing any spell. Because if you take that with you into the ritual area or while you're conducting a spell, it will plain and simply just fuck up the whole process, the beginning and the end, and your outcome might not be even what you want it to be.
If there's an outcome at all.
Indeed. So it is important to change your perception. Now, once you align your perception and your will in regards to magic, then you get something which we mentioned, the knowing. Knowing is, well, basically a combination of those, the perception and will align, perfectly aligned. And then you cannot fail in your workings.
We've discussed the concept of knowing in a number of our written works and probably in a couple of our blog posts as well. Honestly, we can't remember. But to summarize it, between perception and will, let's illustrate it for you like this. How do you know that the sun shines during the day? No, you cannot say, no, because I've seen it or whatever, something like that. No. How do you know that? Even if you cannot see the sun right now. You simply know it, don't you? Not because you were told that it happens or necessarily because you can see it happening right now if, say, you're indoors or whatever. No, you just know that it is so. As you know anything else, basically, that without a doubt, there's absolutely nothing that can convince you otherwise kind of knowing. Then you can say, okay, how am I supposed to do that with a spell or a ritual? How, if it's something that, say, I do not know if it is going to work out or not, that's your first mistake already. You're not supposed to be concerned about that because, as mentioned, once you even think about something like that, it's a fuck up already, then you might as well not perform anything.
Exactly, just as you don't have to think on an example, the sun is shining. No. Is the sun shining? Perhaps the sun is shining? No. The sun is shining. That's how your perception must be upon your magical working. For example, the outcome. It has manifested. It will not manifest. It's not about to manifest, but it has manifested.
Exactly. You cannot say, if this doesn't work, then, I have a plan B or whatever. No. No, if it doesn't work or if it works. No, nothing like that. It worked or it works.
Exactly. So it's very important for you not to attempt any spells or magical operations if you are too emotionally involved in the spell itself. Let's just say you have relationship problems and you wish to perform a spell because you have relationship problems. There's nothing wrong with that. But your mindset and your mentality will influence a spell. If you are in distress, emotionally negative, in an emotional negative state, and so on, then your spell will not work. Definitely not. Rather distance yourself from the whole situation first. Correct your mentality, your perception, and your will. And then, only then, when you're no longer such a negative state, you can perform the working and it will be successful.
Now, by what we just said, we probably make it sound very easy to do if you are personally involved, deeply involved in a situation that you want to change via magic. No, it is not easy at all. The more emotionally invested you are in something, the deeper into a situation you are, the more it personally affects you specifically and your microcosm, the more difficult it will be to distance yourself from the emotional entanglement at hand.
Indeed. If you are in such a state that you find it difficult to remove yourself from that, then another option for you is to contact a spirit, an entity, a being, to do so on your behest, to do the working on your behest because you are too involved in it. That's always a good choice.
Yes, it definitely is.
You must also know which kind of magic will be suitable for the situation at hand. For example, there are various types of magic. There are nature-based magic, there's planetary magic, there's ceremonial high magic, there's necromancies, witchcraft, etc. and so forth. So you must know which kind of magic will apply to it.
And please do not fool yourself, okay? Let's say you want to perform a ritual or a spell or whatever to make a specific person desire you, okay? That's like very popular. So let's use that as an example. It's a really good one. Don't fool yourself in thinking this is white magic, or no, it's what you're doing is completely natural and agreeable and normal and everything is fine. Don't lie to yourself. If you do that, obviously it will work. but that is manipulation. You are going against that person's will. So there's nothing wrong with that. We don't really judge at all with anything like that. But be honest with yourself, okay?
And remember, magic is a very selfish practice. It doesn't matter if you practice left-hand path or right-hand path. It's extremely selfish because it all comes down to you. You decide to do something. You decide to act. You decide to initiate. It's all about you. Magic just doesn't happen by itself. It needs a mediator, which is you, to direct that force and that current to make things happen.
Exactly. People will say, for example, the right-hand path is more, oh gosh, they say so many things about that, but they may, practitioners of the right-hand path, or at least practitioners who practice the right-hand path but do not fully understand it or magic as a whole, they might say, no, they are all peace, love, and light, and live and let live, and all that, and they will never, ever, ever do anything unnatural against anything's will. They are lying to themselves. As mentioned, it all comes down to you as a practitioner. It is a selfish thing. No matter what path, practice, paradigm, it does not matter. Well, you can, of course, tell yourself that that's not how it works, but it is how it works, though.
Yes, no bypassing that. Unless you want to try to fake it until you make it. But you'll fail nonetheless, because the truth still remains in that.
Cue the drum roll, because this is probably, although sort of well known to most practitioners, we hope, this is probably the thing which most people actually forget to apply, which the success or failure of an operation can actually hinge on this, by the way. It is letting go.
Exactly. If you're going to cling on to something, continuously think on, okay, did it work? Is it working or not? Then your perception is changing. And the currents of magic itself is being influenced by that perception, by that wondering if this or that is working or not. So it's important for you, when casting a spell or when performing any magical ritual, to let it go completely. You do it and forget about it, unless it's required for you to perform consecutive spells, like the 7-day candle spell, for numerous reasons. Then it's a different story. Then on that 7th day, you better know, and you better completely let go of that spell that you have just performed. No divining on anything.
Because as we mentioned earlier, you are supposed to know that it has worked already by you performing that operation. You must know that without a shadow of a doubt. Your perception and your will must be so aligned to create that knowing, okay? So if you cannot let go, and if you're going to keep on clinging on to, is it working? Is it working? Is this a sign of it working? Is this how it's going to manifest? Is this the course it's going to take? Then you aren't actually knowing, are you? Because you're not letting go. And by default, we'll just say it as that, by default. Whenever you linger on something in your mind, you are showing your subconscious that it is not resolved, that this is not dealt with, it is unresolved. So whenever you dwell on workings that you have performed, has it worked, is it working, and so on and so forth, you are showing yourself, thus your perception, that it is unresolved. And so it will remain unresolved. Do you see?
And also, if you are a solitary practitioner and you perform a spell, don't let anyone know that you performed the spell, because that will also influence your perception. So you don't write about it on social media or make a video about it on YouTube or wherever and post it. You can do so only when the spell has manifested. Not before, not during, only when it manifests.
There is an old saying, to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. But there's a reason why it can be seen as essentially a creed of all magical operations, for good reason.
Yeah, and I just want to add here something quickly. We said we would mention why it seems that we are a bit hard on the left-hand practitioners. Here's the reason, guys. Spiritual ascension is about will. It's about the will that drives you. Okay. Right-hand practitioners, right-hand path practitioners, is more unlikely to spiritually ascend. Why? Because in contemporary, let's just say, beliefs and practices, the right-hand path is that of subservience. whereas the left-hand path is that of exerting your will. And that is why we are a bit more harder on the left-hand path practitioners, because of the tremendous potential that practitioners of the left-hand path hold.
They hold so much potential. So much fucking potential. But what annoys us, angers us, upsets us, not sure what word to use here, but is that they like to squander it. That is why we're so hard on practitioners of the left-handed paths. Because they tend to squander it. They tend to then once again fall on their knees in subservience, right, to something else that is not themselves. Yeah, you can work with entities, do. Yes, you can have a patron and a matron to help you on your path. Yes, do. But remember that the left-hand path is not one of subservience. If that's what you wanted, you should have practiced right-hand paths or stayed in a religious doctrine or dogma instead. Do not forget the very core of the left-handed paths.
Remember, guys, religion, any form of religion, is a right-hand path, because therein lies subservience. The other day we saw a post on Facebook where a person said Satanism is not a religious belief. And that annoyed us a bit, because it is a religious belief. And within that lies subservience, because you worship Satan. Irrelevant if you see it as an actual sentient external being or a metaphor for the ego. That is irrelevant. Now, Satanism is not a left-hand path. I don't care who says what on that. I don't care who argues about that. Satanism is a religion, thus it is a dogmatic system of
subservience.
Exactly, of subservience. Irrelevant of how you approach it or not. You're always groveling in front of a demon or a devil or something as such. Okay, now don't get us wrong. We are not singling out Satanism. We're not targeting Satanism at all. We have contemporary religion, not so much religion, but the people who adhere to religious beliefs. And so don't call yourself a left-handed practitioner if you are a Satanist, because you are not.
How are you any different from your arch enemies, the Christians, bowing down before their God? If you bow down before Satan, which is literally just inversed Christian God.
Exactly. The true practitioner of the left-hand path does not bow down or to submit to anything. Instead, they hold that black flame aloft so others can see it also, and then maybe be drawn to the same path. The true left-hand path is a path of no path whatsoever.
Exactly. This topic, honestly, while we're recording this, obviously we're going to edit it, like the long pauses and stuff. We're going to edit that out, of course, so you're not going to hear that. But this particular subject, it's very close to us. In fact, it's something that we feel very strongly about, as you may or may not have noticed. Because many people, like mentioned, they think they practice the left-hand path, but they are Satanists, or they deem themselves as Satanists or whatever. Or people who don't identify as Satanists, but they firmly say they practice the left-handed path, but they wear their knees down in front of demons and dog gods, just as you would find Catholics or Protestants, whatever. They do exactly the same thing, and they fool themselves into thinking, but that is the left-handed path. That is the path to power. That is the path to self-realization. It's not.
No, definitely not. Remember, guys, magic is not religion, and religion is not magic.
And by mixing the two, you're just going to cause a big fuck up, basically.
And at the end of the day, you're just going to fool yourself, and you won't spiritually ascend, become whatever you wish to become at the end of the day. You are just fooling yourself. And magic in the occult is about breaking those chains, keeps you confined to moral dichotomy, other illusions and disillusions, and so on. As we wrote in the Hexagrammaton, you need to question everything. Truly, you need to, because you will find that at some point you don't even question anything. It just falls in line like a habit. And bad habits can also hinder your spiritual growth and your self-empowerment as an individual. If you want to surpass all things of the mundane, you need to question things. Start questioning, why am I reasoning like this? Why am I doing this? And so on and so forth. Because it plays a very, very big role in magic itself.
Actually, just quickly to touch back on entities in the left-handed paths, you may say then, but if I work with entities, then how else am I supposed to approach it? I mean, I must approach them with respect and so on and so forth. Yes, you should. But here's the difference though. Approaching an entity, a god or whatever, with respect is not synonymous to worship. It's not synonymous to groveling. It's not synonymous to begging. And ironically, the beings and so on that you are most likely to call upon on the left-handed path, the moment you grovel in front of any of them, literally any hope of possible respect that you may have had in working with them from them themselves goes right out the window, because all of them, more so than any other classes of spirits or entities, they respect power above all else. And that doesn't mean you should be an asshole and try to throw power around which you do not have. It doesn't mean you should be egotistical or just plain and simply an asshole. No, that's not what it means. It means that you better not get on your fucking knees.
Exactly. So you need to meet them as equals, first and foremost. Even though they are much older than you, much wiser than you, and much wiser than us, we still need to meet them as equals when we speak to them. Not as servants, not as groveling swine or filth, no, as equals. And then, only then, will they respect you. Because once you evoke anything, it doesn't matter what type of entity, being, or spirit it is, they link up to you. Instantaneously, they know you, they know your thoughts, know where you come from, they know things that you even have forgotten. That is a mutual, how can I say, like a nexus which forms between you and the spirit. But because most people's spiritual senses is not so well developed, they cannot read the entity in the same way as the entity can read them.
Exactly, but some of you guys didn't know that. Just as they can read you through that link, you can read them as well. But we're not going to instruct on that anytime soon, because it's not really something we can instruct you on how to do, because you need to develop your spiritual senses first and foremost. And we know that every time we mention anything to do with developing yourself or developing your spiritual senses, a lot of you probably roll your eyes and groan at us.
Now let's take a look at Chaos Magick quickly. I just want to clear up some misconceptions about it, so you can actually get a better understanding of it as well. The people who brought forth Chaos Magick, or coined Chaos Magick as Chaos Magick,
brought it mainstream.
Yes, exactly, who brought it mainstream. These people, these individuals, were already master occultists in their own field. They didn't just practice Chaos Magick from the get-go. No. They mastered their own path, whether it is Gnosticism, Hermeticism, ceremonial high magic, it's irrelevant. They are masters of their field. So these individuals know how and why magic works. After all, they are masters of their field. They would know this. So this is how Chaos Magick was brought forth and introduced to them in the mainstream, basically. So keep that in mind when you want to perform any magic, including Chaos Magick. Because we have a problem with how Chaos Magick is presented, because the authors of certain Chaos Magick books present it in such a manner that everybody can perform it immediately and they'll have immediate success thereof. And, it would be wonderful if it worked that way, but honestly it doesn't. Because if it did work that way, that you can just look at what these people have written in their books and just perform it and expect results immediately, then why did these individuals study for so many years and practice for so many years to find out how and why magic works?
And this all loops back to spiritual growth and development. These people, they already grew and developed themselves spiritually. Again, they are masters in their fields, right? So that means they can literally pull a Harry Potter card out of the book, point at someone and yell abracadabra, and boom, the person is now literally under a death curse and they will probably die within a couple of months. Ridiculous example, I know. But that's Chaos Magick, isn't it? Now they will write that and say, hey, If you're a fan of Harry Potter or other such things, you can use those spells just as easily through your will and visualization and so on, and you will have similar results. Okay, that's fine. But then you have some random novice picking up that book, reading it, say, and saying, oh, this is perfect. And then they try it, but then obviously nothing will fucking happen. Because magic is not belief, exactly. If magic was just down to belief, and if magic worked the way it is sometimes depicted to work, then don't you think the whole fucking world would be practicing magic by now? Like every single person? Everyone will have what they want. This world will look very, very different. We can assure you of that. But no, the world looks the way it does and is the way it does because magic, unfortunately, does not work as awesomely Hollywood-like as people think it does.
And remember, we are referring to the pioneers of Chaos Magic, people like Phil Hine and many others like that. Those are the people we are referring to as being masters in their field. Regarding Chaos Magic, we're not talking about some random person who writes a book on Chaos Magic. No, not at all.
There's much more to Chaos Magic than meets the eye, okay? So that's why you grow and develop yourself spiritually. You yourself become a master in your field, regardless what field it may be. Then yeah, sure, you too can just quickly scribble some chicken scratch on a paper, blurt out the first sound that comes into your mind, and yeah, it will have an effect. Sure it will. But not because of the chicken scratch or the first sound that came into your mind. No. Because of your power and fucking experience, huh?
Yeah, and that's going to take some time to develop, guys. We won't lie to you. It is going to take years to develop, and magic is also about patience. You need to have patience in order to develop your skills and also to become spiritually powerful.
So if you have been in it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, buckle up because it's going to be a lifetime pursuit if you're serious about this.
Exactly. The more you practice, the more you will grow your spiritual power. And it's not just practice, you must practice correctly. Perfect practice makes perfect. Remember that.
And since this is probably going to be almost the longest episode to date, probably, we are going to say that will be the end of this episode where we have discussed quite a variety of things, actually.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. And guys, remember you can always contact us, comment about this episode. If you agree or if you disagree, feel free to do so. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, depending on which platform you're listening to this on, like, subscribe, share even if you feel inclined to do so. And yeah, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to our podcast.
Indeed. And by the way, we created a new forum. You're more than welcome to join. It's absolutely free. It is called ourcalmness.com.
Yeah, we will also upload or post the link in the description of this podcast so that you can just, click on it. Oh yeah, and another update regarding our business itself. All of our digital books, or the digital versions of our books at least, are now $10 each to make it as accessible as we can without making them all free.
There we go. So take a look at our collection and selection, and if you are interested, kindly support us.
And always remember, as above, so below.
As within, so without.